Good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock on Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving 2020. What a year it's been. What a challenge to our ability to be thankful. Many people looking to great changes in their family traditions. Even those that are trying to keep some semblance of it together are recognizing it's not like it has been before. Lord, oh Lord, help us. Help us to keep our eyes on the prize, which is that we would live and that we would be healthy and that we would live another day. I pray for all of the families today that are going to be separated. I pray for individuals that are going to be isolated, and I pray for, a certain kind of presence that will help us to overcome what comes in us in isolation. Thanksgiving, giving thanks. You know, as we were told the story when we were children, it was in a time of hardship and desperation. It was people who gathered together. The Native Americans, as I understand it now, basically saved the lives of the pilgrims. They saved their lives because the pilgrims had arrived ill-prepared. Disease, all kinds of problems were plaguing the pilgrim families and the Puritans. And there were, I'm sure, it wasn't just one feast, but you know, the experience as we know it now is that the Native American people, Aboriginal people who are living here, were actually friendly. Many of them were friendly to these human beings that had arrived across the ocean shores and had landed in a pretty rugged country with very little skills of survival. And so, I don't mean to compare our Thanksgiving in fighting this pandemic across the board to that kind of struggle, but this is a very dangerous time for our lives in the world. Back in the spring, the pandemic, as it began in January, was an idea. It was a word we'd heard, something we heard from far off. And without any encouragement from anybody, I began to notice that it was moving closer and closer and closer into my circles of pastors and circles of friends, and then circles of my family when my mom died of COVID, and it just kept moving closer. And then, with the massive shutdown, the brakes seemed to be put on, at least in my world. I didn't hear of any more people getting the disease, not in my area. But I hear that train coming now. I now have another friend who's a pastor who has the disease. His family is all sick. And they're not old people. They're sick. And so my ears are open. I hear it. And so I get it. Let's be thankful. Let's be thankful that we know as much as we do about this disease. Let's be thankful that we can still find other ways to communicate. I go back again to this incredible opportunity through this live stream to speak out into the world, to speak to your world, to come into your home. At no risk. As far as I know, there's no risk to your health from joining in this pastor chat today. Maybe it'll be a risk to your sanity, I don't know, but no risk to your physical health. When our lives are filled with blessings of relationships and friendships and church community, and sources of income. When our lives have blessings in them, we are at risk. We are at risk of all of a sudden losing those blessings. And when we lose those blessings, then we feel pain. But the opportunity is there for us to be grateful for many, many, many years that we have had, and to look forward to new Thanksgivings to come. I don't know, maybe we should invent another Thanksgiving. And we should do it once in the fall and once in the spring. We could be just as thankful when the winter is over. And maybe the vaccine will be here, and we ought to have big celebrations of Thanksgiving. I think we could knock the socks off of traditional Thanksgiving and reimagine it in a whole different way. That was then. Our telling of the story of Thanksgiving is based on an event in history where people were thankful in the middle of struggle, and miracles happened. Things took place that I don't know how much the history's been revisited, how much it's been revised. Certainly it has been. There was an event, there was an Aboriginal event that took place, and it was, in all the telling of it, it was a story in which there was suffering and there was sadness, and in the middle of the suffering and sadness, people found a way. They found a way to sing songs of joy and praise, to make new friends, to see life above the rubble. I think we have that capacity here today too. I do. I think my wife and I are going to try what we did back in the spring. Laura and I are going to try to play some games online with our kids because we won't see them. We're going to try ways to reaffirm how much we love and care about them. During this whole Advent season, Laura and we've been meeting and planning and looking for ways to reaffirm how important those of you who are part of this worshiping community are to us in our lives, and I know that you are to each other. Finding ways to reaffirm that. Looking at Advent. Advent is a perfect season for this, because Advent says there are rough things happening in this world, but they won't always be here. So Advent lifts our eyes to a horizon. It teaches us, yes, to understand the world that we're in, but to always be looking to the horizon for where God will once again stir life and hope and health and love and welcome strangers and the best things in life. The best things in life. So, I'm wishing, praying, encouraging a season of thanksgiving. Digging deep, even in perhaps difficult circumstances. And unlocking that oil of thanksgiving in your life. So that's my prayer. It's my prayer for the season that we have been together. I don't know, 9 months now? Has it been 9 months that we've been talking like this every day? So the day tomorrow is the Thanksgiving day, and then the day after, and then Saturday. So this chat, this conversation is my signing off until the Monday after the first Sunday of Advent. I won't be here in the church sanctuary tomorrow to do the chat for Friday. I'm going to take a season off. We will not be going anywhere, but we'll try to make the best of our time. I'll be working with Laura, planning some kind of an online event, which we call our worship gathering, but something that will be outstanding in terms of proclaiming the light of God, shining sometimes in very difficult times. This is the time when the best resources of our faith need to draw. We need to draw on them. We've always been people of the East. We've always been people who in our best times recognize that if darkness is a sign of the struggle and the brokenness of life, then darkness helps to illuminate, helps to create a contrast for what is light. And so we see the light. If you have a flashlight and you turn it on during the daytime, you think it doesn't have any power. But if you get into a dark, dark place and you turn a flashlight on, all of the sudden, its power of light generating is so much magnified in your observation. So that is my prayer for you in this time, maybe where you're separated from your family and your traditions are being busted up and your sense of excitement is looking for something to stir it and you don't find it. I hope that you'll dig deep and you'll find the power of the light that is in you. And let it shine in the middle of everything that could be discouraging. When I was a teenager, I worked in a fruit orchard. And it was a small farm operation, but they had, in their old stone barn, they had insulated a massive chamber of the barn. And it was refrigerated, and it was refrigerated to 33 degrees. It was cold storage for apples through the winter season, so they could sell apples all year long. And they shipped apples in boxes out. And one time in the summer, I was working in the upper floor of the barn. We sold peaches there and apples. And I had to go into the freezer. I had to go into the big cold room. It was massive. It's almost as big as the inside of this room. And I got in there and I had to put the stop on the door, and the door, while I was about halfway across the room, slammed shut, and all the source of light in the room was gone. It was the darkest dark I've ever seen. I also began to see swirling images in front of my eyes. I froze. I couldn't walk. I was afraid to take a step. The surprise of the darkness made me forget where I was in the room. I lost my complete sense of where I was. I began to try carefully. I got down on my hands and knees because I did not want to trip and fall. I didn't know where the obstacles in the room were. I crawled along, and I managed, after a very long period of time, to make my way back. After several wrong directions in the darkness, I made my way back to the door and was able to push the plunger. And when that door opened, the burst of light into the room was as overwhelming as the plunging into the darkness. I never realized that the day was as bright as it was until the contrast of the darkness had illuminated it for me. May the love of God, may the power of prayer, may the companionship, think about this, the companionship of the Holy Spirit be real to you and enrich your life and give you light, that you might think of someone who should be called or written to or encouraged. Let light shine during this day of celebration. And then let us drink deeply of the liturgy of Advent, which acknowledges the brokenness of our world and of our life, but holds on to the word of what is yet to come from God. May the blessings of God come strong and powerfully to you in your life, tomorrow especially. And then through this Advent season to Christmas, it's going to be a different year. It's going to be very different. And I just pray that the difference will be the surprises that we get, for how God will invade the circumstances of our lives and bring to us hope, joy in surprising places. That's it for today, my friends. I'll be thinking about you and praying for you. I hope you have a rich and fulfilling journey of Thanksgiving. God bless you.